She was a social and political activist, an author, a public speaker, and many more things. But most of all, she was known to be one of the first deaf-blind people known. She is known as Helen Keller. Since 5th grade, after discovering Helen Keller's life story, I've been drawn through curiosity to understand more about her life. Today I'm going to tell you about Helen Keller, her education, her childhood, and her achievements. I will begin by discussing Helen Keller's childhood. You need to know, however, that Helen Keller was not the first deaf-blind person to exist. According to Parent Information and Resources, there are approximately 45,000 to 50,000 people in the U.S. who are deaf-blind. She was born a perfectly healthy baby in 1880, but around 19 months later, she developed a disease. The disease was unknown, although according to biography.com, the family doctor called it brain fever. Brain fever caused Helen Keller's body temperature to increase. When she bypassed the disease, her family noticed a change in her behavior. They noticed that she wasn't responding to sound or movement. Little by little, although, she was able to express herself through hand expressions. Biography.com explained that she had invented more than 60 signs, which is now known as sign language today. And some of her first signs were Helen, doll, milk, water, and teacher. Unfortunately, sign language was not enough for the people around her to understand the words and the things that she was trying to say, therefore leading her to be undisciplined. This led her parents to hire Anne Sullivan, Helen's teacher. Now that we have brought Miss Sullivan into the picture, let's discuss Helen Keller's education. Although Helen Keller made a way of communication, it did not allow her to develop an understanding of what she was saying, and she wasn't able to connect with the words. Anne began teaching Keller by signing words into her hand to show her objects, but sadly, Keller was not understanding and not comprehending what she was doing. The American Foundation of the Blind explained that the events that took place on the day that Helen Keller learned her first word. Anne took Helen's hand and she poured water into it. Then she signed in the other hand the word water, and that was the first time that Helen Keller understood her first word. While Helen felt the water in one hand and Anne Sullivan signed WATER, Helen Keller was able to comprehend what was going on, and then she wanted to know what the Earth's name was, which was when her curiosity and learning spiked. Helen understood words through sign to help her read, Braille, and to help her finger spell right, and more. And this is explained in a video clip of Anne Sullivan showing Helen's form of communication. Anne Sullivan, the teacher and companion of Helen Keller, was interviewed in the 1980s and asked to explain how Helen Keller communicated. She explained that one of the easier ways for Helen to communicate was by feeling a vibration in spoken words. She described how the position of her hand helped her do this. The thumb resting on the throat, the right hand, or the right thorax, I think that's how you say it, and then the first finger on the lips, the second on the nose. Helen was given the opportunity to go to college because of her passion for words and learning. With that being said, let's move on to her accomplishments. Helen had a great many accomplishments and was one of the first people without sight and hearing to go to college. According to 10 major events, she was the first blind, deaf person to earn a bachelor's degree. She wrote 12 books throughout her life, including her autobiography, as explained bi-weekly. She traveled the world to give speeches in different countries, and according to the Vintage News, Helen learned 5 different languages and learned to read them all in Braille. She was a politician and socialist and spoke up for women's rights. And celebtab.com announced that Helen Keller was honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, as shown in this picture right here. And she did many amazing things, but the most important thing was being an inspiration to people. And she did more things than most people that did have their sight and hearing. In drawing to a close, Helen created a life of opportunity and strove to make a proper life for herself, regardless of her disability. Helen Keller had to undergo a challenge through childhood, and yet she became a determined woman. She had help from a teacher, and she had her companion and friend, Anne Sullivan. Together, they made it possible for Helen to read, write, speak, and communicate in ways that they never thought possible, leading Helen to inspire others. As Helen Keller once said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing